Hello and welcome back to Grandpa Jimmy Barbecue. Today we are going to cook beef ribs. And we're also going to do a little salute to our military friends and veterans. I'm fortunate enough to be a volunteer for an organization called the Halo for Freedom Warriors Foundation. It's run by a guy named Dana Bowman. He started it like 10 years ago, and they do a lot of fantastic things for our veterans. One of the things he does is once a year in the spring, he has 40 to 50 veterans and warriors and real live heroes down to his event in Texas for 4 days of fun and camaraderie and fellowship. And I'm fortunate enough to be part of that group. I go down there, and guess what my job is? Big surprise. I help cook for these guys. Anyway, after we get going here in a little bit, after I got the ribs on, I'll show you some pictures about what goes on at Dana's event and a little bit more about the Halo for Freedom. So now let's talk about beef ribs. I've cooked a lot of pork ribs before, which is way more common, and I've gotten really good at it. I can make an amazing rack of pork ribs. But this is a little different. These are beef ribs. This is a 4-bone rack. Weighs a little bit more than 4 pounds. I went over to the meat block in Greenville the other day and I picked them up. And I told Phil that this was the first time for me making beef ribs, and he gave me some tips on how to make them, which is fantastic because if it doesn't turn out right, I can blame him. No pressure on me, man. Good deal. So the first thing we're gonna do is trim off some of this fat on the top. I happen to like some fat with my beef. I think it gives it some great flavor. Not so good for the heart, but makes your meat taste good. But in this case, you have to trim off the fat because when you season it, your seasoning is not going to penetrate through the fat into the meat. It's just going to lay on top. And that's the reason why we're going to take off most of this fat. Just get yourself a very sharp knife and take off little bits at a time. That's the best way to do it. You don't want to dig in and take off much meat. You just want to get off that top layer of fat. I have most of the fat trimmed off. You can see my little pile of fat here. You can take as much time doing this as you want to. Take as much fat off as you want to. However, I need to tell you I am not a professional at this, nor do I pretend to be a professional on YouTube. Now, when you're doing your pork ribs, you always take this silver skin off of the back. With beef ribs, it's a matter of opinion. I've heard some people say you should take it off and some say you shouldn't. You start on the end, make a little cut, and then it works best with a paper towel. You can peel this right off, like so. Get rid of that. And then another hot tip I learned is to take your knife and make a couple of little cuts around the bone. Not very deep, just a little bit so it separates the meat from the bone. And the reason you want to do this is because your meat is going to shrink and you want those bones to come out of the end kind of evenly. It makes for a great presentation. You'll see that hopefully when we're done. Now you only cut around the bone on one of the sides, not both of the sides. So you can push on the meat a little bit here and see how the bones are exposed just a little bit. So we're ready to go. Just got that done on one side, and now we're ready to season it up. I'm gonna put on my 5-shot Wapatuli rub, and you be generous with this. Put plenty on and get it on all of the sides. It's more important to get more on the top than it is on the bottom where the bones are. Season all the sides, and we are going to be ready to put this bad boy on the grill and see how it turns out. Okay, so the ribs are on. I like using hickory pellets with beef, and along with the flavor from the pellet grill, I put in an extra tube filled with hickory pellets. Give it a little more smoke, a little more flavor. I'd like to get a little deeper smoke ring. I put a pan of water in there. It can't hurt to help keep it a little bit moist. I've got my temperature probe in, and then once every hour I'm going to take and spritz it to keep it a little moist. And today I'm using Dr. Pepper. I think that I'm going to have a pretty good dinner tonight. Might even have some leftovers. Here I have some pictures for you from the Halo event down in Texas. It's called The Weekend to Remember, which is a really good description. The first day we spend at the Texas Motor Speedway, which is very cool. Great place to be. I had to go to school for an hour and learn how to drive a car, and they let me drive the Cheerios car 6 laps, and I passed 4 cars and nobody passed me, so it was a great day. Of course, there was a pro in the passenger seat, needed to have that. And then some of the guys parachute into the infield as just another activity to do. But this year, it rained, so they took us to an indoor skydiving facility, which was pretty neat. And we also went to a place where we could throw axes, which was very cool. And then the next day is what I call gun day. Did a lot of target practice, long-range sniper shooting. We blew things up. There's guys that went up in helicopters and shot wild hogs. Here you see me cooking ribs. I was cooking with a guy named Biker Jim from Denver. He's famous for his exotic gourmet hot dogs. He makes hot dogs out of things like ostrich and reindeer and rattlesnake and yak and bison. Very cool guy, famous in Denver. Dana is a gun fanatic. Here he climbed on top of a Hummer and he had a .50 caliber machine gun. It was like a kid in a candy store. Later that night we went to a place called Billy Bob's down in Fort Worth, Texas, largest country western bar in the country. That was pretty cool. This place is just huge. It's big enough where they can have actual bull riding right in the bar. That was quite the trip, man. Next day we go and visit some of the major sponsors in the area. Some of the veterans get up and tell some very moving stories. This is probably one of my favorite parts. We went to the Weatherford High School auditorium, talked to the seniors. Some of the guys got up and told some really emotional stories. This was really a good day. Here we've got the 3 guys that ran into a terrorist on a train over in Europe. Clint Eastwood heard about the story and made a movie about these 3 guys and the terrorist on the train to Paris. This is Mike, he's an astronaut. This is Hal, you can see the Congressional Medal of Honor around his neck. Very proud, not many of those guys around. This is Scott, he's a fighter pilot. He got shot down over Bosnia and they made a movie about him called Behind Enemy Lines. This is Corey Leone Johnson. Great country singer. He sang a lot of songs all weekend. Really powerful voice. This is a guy named Colonel Greg Gadsden. You see, we're doing a little fun here with photobombing. He was in a movie called Battleship, and he got to punch an alien right in the face. That was very cool. This is probably my favorite guy. His name is Cleve McCleary. He's a very sought-after motivational speaker. He told me his grandmother used to play cards with Eleanor Roosevelt. He's the kind of guy where you could just sit and listen to for hours and hours. Great stories and really funny guy. The last night we have a big gala. This is a silent auction. They also have a traditional auction. Here's the big room before people came. It's a formal event. Everybody's dressed up. And they also have some emotional ceremonies. That's the last night. It was great. And then I get to come home and see these guys again. We are about 4 hours into our cook now. You can see the meat is looking delicious. It's pulling away from the bone very nicely. Give it another little spritz with Dr. Pepper and close her up. My internal temperature is stalled at 167 and I expect it to be there for a little while yet before the temperature keeps going up again. Okay everyone, ladies and gentlemen, sports fans, young and old alike, we are done. Look at this. Internal temperature probe reads 202. And since it's hard to get exactly in the right spot with your probe, it's not a bad idea to put in another probe just to make sure you're right. good. Got an average of about 200 degrees everywhere. It is time to take this off. So when you take your meat off, put it in some type of pan. Look at how that looks. My Lord. That's going to be one delicious supper. I might even have reruns for a couple days after this. So, what do we do now? As I've told you in the past, we are done, but we are not done. This is beef. We got it to the temperature we want. We're going to cover this up, and we're going to put it in the cooler. So, here we go. We're going to put her in the old cooler. And I'm going to let that rest for at least a half an hour. And now it is showtime. We're cutting this up. Check this out. Oh man, see how juicy that is? Got a little smoke ring going on there. Got a little juice going on there. Pulls right off of the bone. I'm going to have myself a little treat if you don't mind. There is a lot of meat here. You can see how it's shrunk up. The bones are sticking out. Just check that out. Look at all that juice. This is a beautiful thing. Yep. Daddy's gonna eat well tonight. This is perfect. I think I did a pretty darn good job on my first set of beef ribs. Well, I think that turned out great. Those ribs tasted even better than they looked. Not bad for my first try. So I'd like to give another shout out to the Halo for Freedom Warrior Foundation, run by Dana Bowman. You can find them at haloforfreedom.org. Support these guys whenever you can, please. They do a lot of great work with the veterans, and they also work with law enforcement as well as first responders. So here's, I got another couple of pictures to show you of Dana, the founder. Really cool guy, and I'm very proud to call him a friend. Here's a little more about Sergeant Dana Bowman. He's an Army Ranger Special Forces kind of guy, member of the Golden Knights Elite Parachute Team. He was the first man that they let re-enlist in the Army with 2 prosthetic legs. And along with running Halo for Freedom, he's a motivational speaker, and he travels around the country. He also does this. He jumps out of planes into different events. In this case, it was a rodeo. He's got a 2,000 square foot American flag tied to his foot. He's got the smoke thing going. That was really cool. And then, of course, when he's done, we got to fold up the flag. We got to pack up the parachute, because in some cases, he does it again that same day. We got him to be a meat judge at the rodeo. That was pretty fun. And then in between jumps, he might enjoy a cup of coffee, but at the end of the day, we like to enjoy an adult beverage. Very cool guy. Proud to call him my friend.
Grandpa Jimmy, salute here in Texas. We want to thank you for all your great videos that you've done. As you see in the back, you see Halo for Freedom Warrior Foundation, and we salute all our veterans, soldiers, and warriors. We want to thank you for all your help with the foundation, coming out there and cooking, prepping, and all your great videos that we've been watching each and every day. It's helped us through this time of pandemic in America, and we like to salute our warriors, veterans, and soldiers too.
Thanks, Dana. You want to put in a little plug for your new restaurant?
We have a brand new restaurant here in Texas, outside of Weatherford, Texas, the roping capital of Texas. And we just put a brand new video together. We had our health inspector came today and passed us with flying colors. It is called Ginza French Japanese Cuisine. We're going to cater to the veterans, soldiers, warriors, the children, the students, the elderly, the first responders, the whole lot of them. Why not? Give them a discount, help them out. You know, there's only one chance in life that we're given, and we're given it each and every day. We're just so glad to be able to open these doors up, and we will be opening our doors up for the first time on this Friday, on the 1st of May, and we're really looking forward to it.
All right, beautiful. Thanks a lot, Dana. Good luck with the restaurant. I hope it goes over great. Wish I could be there.
Cheers! Oh.
That is a wrap. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. And don't forget to hit that little subscribe button down on your right. I would appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, look what we got here. It's a box of crayons. Check them out. What do you think we should do with these? Yeah, it's time to color my ass out of here. My brandy old fashioned. So good luck, God bless, and please remember the golden rule. Cheers, baby.